Okay, once again, I'm your soul brother Talib coming back at you with a commentary. I just want to touch up on a few things. Well, the district attorney in Omaha, Nebraska, here in the same state of Nebraska where I live, decided not to charge the shooter of fatal shooting black protester victim, James Scarlett, who was 22, for justifiable reasons because, according to the shooter, and what was said was that he was in fear of his life and that his father, who had started a fight with a group of black men in front of his place of business, which is a bar he owns in Omaha, led to a physical confrontation, which involved him because he was toting a gun, and he ended up, you know, being, thrown on the ground, of course, and you know, some blacks got on top of him, and of course, as the fight went on, and then it was said that James Scarlett jumped in it and got on top of him, and according to the claims, was that he was told to get off the shooter, and the shooter put his hand behind his back and shot him. And of course, I forget where they say he shot him at, but he died immediately right after that. And well, I want to touch up on something because earlier, when I got more details about this situation that happened in Omaha, I wasn't surprised. But the unfortunate part about it, and see, this is where the double standard comes in at. And this is also to you people out there in social media land, especially black people in social media land, who don't even believe or think that systemic racism in this country exists. Well, it do. That's just the reality of it. And, with this white bar owner who shot James Scarlett and killed him, first of all, his license to even carry a gun had just expired. Plus, he had had previous problems with the law over guns, okay? So, it's like, it's plain and simple that when it comes to the justice system in America, like even Martin Luther King Jr. would once say, there are two Americas, okay? And that's, of course, white and then black. And this is a situation that cuts right straight down through the middle, just to show you that we are definitely not equals in this country far as being black or whatever we refer ourselves as, people of color, African American or whatever, that by titles that were given to us by the oppressor. But of course, we are not looked upon equally. We're still looked upon as 3/5 of a human, which this is just one among many indicators to prove. And now, had that been a black man, and especially if he'd had a record like this Caucasian did dealing with guns, And, you know, he didn't have no permit and shot a Caucasian or anybody as of that matter, he'll be in jail right now facing murder charges. Just like this Caucasian should be in jail in Omaha facing murder charges over this, young man's death. And so, like I said before in another video I did, I talked about how the young man James Scarlett's parents were demanding at this point that still a grand jury be the ones to make the final decision on whether this Caucasian gets charged for the murder of their loved one, as well as son. And, with all this going on, of course, with George Floyd, in the situation of him getting murdered in Minneapolis by Caucasian white police, this here is already been slid up under the rug. I bet you it's a handful of people throughout America that even know about this case that just took place Saturday with James Scarlett, 22, getting killed by a Caucasian bar owner at a protest in memory of George Floyd, that in Omaha, Nebraska. And so, like I said, this is one of these states, and I live 1 hour away from Omaha, but Nebraska, period, is one of these states that if something like this happens, especially if it's involving a police shooting of black people, or especially a black male, or just, any type of racial, connected shooting violence, it's going to be swept under the rug. And it's not going to get out in the mainstream national media too much, And so, Omaha is one of these cities, of course, it's smaller than Minneapolis, so they figure, this is a smaller town. We could quietly just sweep stuff like this under the rug and it won't be heard about no more. So, like I said, right now as it stands, that the shooter and the fatal shooting death of James Scarlett would not be charged for his murder. And once again, looking at that situation and in many more other situations similar to that, I must say that, black people are definitely going to have to stop being reactionary. Okay? And I get it with the anger part, and you have a right to be angered. I'm angered at the fact that all these unnecessary police killings of blacks are being unresolved, and ain't no justice being administered behind it, So I feel your pain, okay, but you going around here doing this little tiddly bit stuff, which you've been doing for 50 or almost 100 years, throwing rocks, busting windows out, looting businesses and stuff, ain't solved our problem. It has not solved our continuous, suffering condition as a people. And, we got to be creative and tactful, just like they use, intelligent tactics against us. to keep us, to help keep us in the position that we still remain as a people in this country, So we're going to have to be creative and start coming with intelligent tactics, to get ourselves up out this situation. And this is one reason why I keep proposing the Mississippi campaign, because there's so many indications, or rather implications, in that ideal that could help turn this whole thing around for once and for all, where our future generations won't have to suffer like we are suffering. They won't even know what it is to be the N-word or a slave and all this other stuff that's negatively associated with being black in America. Okay? So, like I said before, we find ourselves in a situation right now where we gonna either have to, change our course of action and try something else different than all this marching, protesting, and, rioting, especially when you tearing up the same communities you live in, destroying businesses, especially that you have to depend on for essential needs and stuff like that, Just like what took place in Minneapolis, and which took place in other cities prior to Minneapolis, as far as other riots in this country go, when it come to our people, So, it's like we have to understand that our situation is just not gonna get any different than this, And then we're gonna keep hearing about the George Floyds. Then we're gonna keep hearing about the James Scarlocks, the Trayvon Martins, the Eric Gartners, the Michael Browns, the Alton Sterlings, the Esau Fords, the Sean Bells, and the list goes on. We're gonna keep hearing the Sandra Blands, the Ayanna Jones, the Rodney Kings. You know what I'm saying? We're gonna keep hearing about that. The Amadou Delialus, the Eleanor Bumpers. We're gonna keep hearing about that type of situation with us as a people until we direct our energies and channel our energies into doing something different than the same thing we've been doing, just to try to get some justice for us, for once and for all, just to become a real free people. Because as it still stands, we're just over 100 something years out of slavery, okay? And if you take that much time and subtract that from the over 300 years that we were on the cotton and sugar cane plantations, we still are more slaves than we are used to being free. And that's just a fact, as someone would say. So, we have to figure out something else, if as far as taking a course toward getting real true freedom and justice and equality for ourselves as a people, because this same pattern has not worked. The peaceful protest, the peaceful nonviolent solution, where you see what that got, where that got Dr. Martin Luther King. You know what I'm saying? You see where that got Medgar Evers and many others like them that was just trying to be nonviolent in their approach toward our people's struggle, And like I said, it's like we are you know, I heard somebody saying that, and not to get off the subject, but I just want to mention some earlier, because I heard somebody in another video saying that systemic racism does not exist in this country. And if racism existed in this country, why can other minorities like Nigerians and East Indians come to America and be successful as they are? First of all, let me address that real quickly, okay, to those of you on social media, especially, like I said, to black people who still don't think systemic racism exists in America. Those groups you're talking about, those minority groups in America that you're talking about, okay, first of all, they're immigrants and they're not descendants of dark-skinned slaves born in this country like 44 plus million of us are that's been in this country as descendants of those slaves, okay? And those people are benefiting off the backs of our ancestors' struggle, okay, especially from the civil rights movement. All right. The majority of the Black Caucus is made up of black immigrants, okay? And the policies and decisions that they make definitely are not a benefit to those of us that are dark-skinned descendants of slaves born here in America, okay? So, all that there, as far as the mother people, whether they from Taiwan, Hong Kong, China, whatever, we are not those people, okay? We have been in slave bondage for almost 500 years. Their ancestors was not in slavery for over 300 years. Their ancestors was not lynched, okay, or burnt at a stake while a bunch of white folks stood by and picnicked on some barbecue, you know, while they was unconscientiously standing there while people was dying from being hung on from trees and being burnt at the stake after they was hung, okay? You know, their ancestors didn't experience that, okay? We have a very different struggle as compared to them people you're talking about, who you say are successfully making it. And then you try to use that as a frivolous so-called fact to justify why you say that racism don't exist here in America. It does. Systemic racism, and matter of fact, because those foreigners or immigrants are allowed to be here, to be successful as they are, is a form of discrimination against those of us that are descendants of dark-skinned slaves born in America, okay? Did you hear about black or so-called African Americans losing their jobs to Central American or Latin American immigrants that come to this country? Okay? I mean, so don't sit up and talk about racism don't exist when you don't have proper facts to clearly show that, or to be able to back that up, you know? And then another thing too is that you know, I must say that as I agree with someone else, you know, at the right given time, opportunity and chance, you know, if these races wanted to, they could round us up like the Nazis did the Jews in Germany and, haul us off onto them gray buses. And then off we go to them concentration camps and the mass graves. And guess who will be there helping them to throw us in those mass graves? It'll be them black or brown immigrants that you're talking about. Okay? And that's the reality. They are already, especially the ones from Africa, they have already been warned not to associate with the so-called African American. Else that'll be the end of their visa privileges far as being in America. Okay? So, it's a lot of implications as to even why they won't even unite with us in our struggle in this country, for real. Okay? And I also just want to say that, I really don't have, patience for a lot of stupidity and ignorance right now in the time of what we're experiencing here in America, let alone with this health crisis pandemic, but the fact that, this police shooting this police murdering of a black man in Minnesota, and then, the response that's gotten, and with the powder keg that's just blowing up like it did behind that, and see, a lot of our young youth who are out there in the streets protesting and rioting are getting very tired of this. But those of us from the generations, like those of us in our 30s, 40s, and 50s, rather I say 40s and 50s, on up, haven't given them nothing to be able to have a real strong defense against this situation that would turn this around for once and for all. So they don't know what to do. So where they expecting change to come from? The same, common enemy that helped started the whole situation in the first place. So this is, what's going to keep on continuing. Just like a vicious cycle. Still going around like a revolving door, and things still remaining the same. And, this is the reason why I, have talked about, in other previous videos about just saying the hell with this crap going on in America and doing as, some of us have done, which is expatriated to other countries just to get away from this craziness here. And rightfully so, because first of all, it's one thing to understand what we dealing with over here with the racists, but it's another thing to not want to accept the fact that we need to take our own freedom, our own liberation, our own reparations, which will come along with our liberation. And we, because all this other stuff we talking about, far as doing, piggybacking off of what somebody said earlier, far as getting businesses started, buying homes, owning companies or whatever, all that could wait until we could take control of a state, which would be able to afford us the opportunity to do that on a bigger scale, where we won't have to depend on nobody. well, we'll be self-sufficient like a nation. Although we'll still be in the state of Mississippi, which would still be a part of the United States, you know, but we would be taking control of the politics in that state. And then a few other states will come after that. If we could commonly come together on this ideal, which could finally help turn our situation around. Because right now, we don't have no safe haven as black people in this country to be protected from. You know, like someone spoke about earlier in the same video that I, critiqued this individual and responded to his false claim of racism not existing in America, where it was said that, we're not even willing to come together, to do anything about this, crime that's happening in our communities. We're not coming together to remove these drug dealers and these gangbangers from our communities. Okay. That's another problem. Okay. So, but if we take control of a state, all that could change quickly than we think. But we don't want to unite, and that's the problem. We do not want to unite because, first of all, we're scared that we're going to lose something. Well, first of all, think about this. We are in a health pandemic situation called COVID-19. You got 40-some million people or more unemployed right now in this country. You ain't got too much to lose. You got businesses, and I think in the tens of thousands or more, that's shutting down all over this country permanently. Companies is even going out of business. This country is in a big depression right now. And they said in a worse depression than in the 1930s. Okay? You don't have really nothing to lose. So what are you worried about anyway? You losing your your 30 some dollar an hour job, your $80,000 $70,000 a year job. Well, come on. Your 401k plan. The way things going in this country, we may not have nothing. Social Security, welfare, 401k plan, Medicaid, Medicare, we may not have none of that. Okay? This is a serious situation that we in, especially as black people, and we playing games like this. This is no joke. Okay? And when it comes to the word unity, that falls on many, many deaf ears. Some of us say we want unity, but do we really? Because we're not showing it in our actions. And then this is why you got black expats leaving the country. Let me tell you something, especially those of you that criticize those who leave America, as far as black people, because they want a better opportunity of life for themselves or their families, if they do have families. If we would get our stuff together here and unite, and like I say, take control of a state like Mississippi, you wouldn't have a situation called black expats or black expatriates going to other countries to seek out opportunity just so they could feel a little bit more free or have a little bit more justice or equality treatment. When we could stay right here in America and do the same thing and get way more of that, because it'll be us doing the work to make it happen. Because in the whole true reality scheme of things, you know, these races is not going to give us no true freedom, justice, and equality. And they have been showing us this for almost 500 years. And it was seen by now that black people who are descendants of slaves born in this country would realize that, you know, and get our heads from between our butts. And let's come together and change our situation around for all at once, you know, and stop playing these games. Because we are right now on a course of extermination, whether we realize it or not, you know, and that's just a fact. You know, we are on a course to extermination, and this is definitely not no game. This is real, you know. They're killing us left and right, if not mass incarcerating us indiscriminatorily. And like I said, at the right, given opportunity, some worse than COVID-19 could take place. And we could be either, like I said, hard off the concentration camps or mass graves, or like someone even say, even put on ships, on raggedy ships, in bad condition, headed to Africa, and might sink in the ocean before we even make it to the shores of Africa. How about that? I mean, this is the reality that we face as black people, you know. And you just like the Jews of Nazi Germany who said it couldn't happen. You saying the same thing. Oh, that can't happen. You say, oh, they can't put us back in slavery. Okay, we'll keep thinking that. Just keep thinking that. Keep playing them kind of games with your lives, with all of us in our lives, and with our future generations' lives, because it won't be a future generation the way that we keep going. And that's just the reality of it. You know, and like I said before, we are in a situation right now that this is what we're facing. And if we don't get it right, then don't be surprised when, you know, like they say, the walls come tumbling down and the roof comes caving in, which would mean the end of us all. Because this is nothing to play with. This situation is very serious that we're dealing with. You know, we don't have time for games. You know, you got males, grown men playing so-called Xbox games and all these other games, you know, and stuff at home instead of trying to be men. And then we wonder why our children are coming up the way that they're coming up. Because the father is not in the home, is not visible. And of course, that plays a lot of, you know, into the part of why our community is the way that it is. You know, but if we come together and take control of a state, like I say, all them problems could be dealt with and dealt with as far as, you know, being eliminated, you know, in the process more quicker than what you think. You know, with the state backing us, it could present so many opportunities that we would never imagine of having to come into as a people in this country. If we just get along and join together to get this ideal up off the ground that's been proposed for over the past couple of years, as far as the Mississippi campaign is concerned, you know. But like I said, we need to stop playing, you know, and until then, you know, if we don't stop playing with ourselves and our future generations, we gonna keep hearing about black expats, you know, racist police shooting victims like Michael Brown, Trayvon Martin, you know, victims being killed by the police like the latest George Floyd, others being killed by racists like James Scarlock, who I mentioned earlier in this video. I mean, you know, we gonna keep hearing about this type of stuff. And what we gonna keep doing, reacting the same way now, like we've been doing, protesting, marching, and rioting and looting, which ain't bringing no concrete, solid answers far as direct change go. You know, so like I said, we could keep playing these games all we want to, but we gonna keep getting what we get at this point in time. And this is just the reality of it. And don't expect these politicians either to do nothing about it. In my closing, and I'm also tell you too, not only these black politicians or these other racist white politicians, but as well as don't even expect your religious leaders to do nothing. You see where they at. You don't see them nowhere leading the charge in this mess. For those of you that's been paying attention or haven't been paying attention, you don't see your religious leaders in the black community leading the charge whatsoever. So evidently, they God must not be real. I'm just saying. I'm just throwing something out there, you know, for you to think about, you know. But, I mean, like I said before, you know, this is just part of the reality. And this is what's going to keep happening until we, you know, like Barack Obama say, pick ourselves up by the bootstraps, black people. And with that said, I'm RD 5000 in peace.